New York Giants fans, it's been a while since I talked to you, and of course, I'm excited because all of the smoke has cleared. Excuse me if I look like a talking head because of all of this light around this white shirt, but I am feeling bright and bright about the opportunity for these New York Giants this year. Yes, I know that they have a tough schedule. I know that there are people that still have questions about the offensive line, the defensive line, the secondary, all of these things. I think I have some answers as we get ready for week one. We are finally here. I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of A Giant Issue. I am Coach Gene Clemons here from my office. It looks a little bit raggedy. I promise it'll look better here soon. Hopefully the audio will be better soon as well. But I appreciate all of you that always join me for another episode of A Giant Issue. New York Giants on SI. That is where you get all of your New York Giants news and information from. You only have a few days. That's just a few days to get us to 3,000 subscribers before the start of the new season. Help a brother out. Help a sister out. Help us all out at the New York Giants on SI. Get us to 3,000 as we start to crank it up for what is sure to be a very interesting 2025 season. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button or wherever you get your podcast from, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Make sure that you're hitting that like. Make sure that you're downloading. Make sure that you're listening to it in the car. Everything helps. We always appreciate it. That's how you pay your rent around here. Just go ahead and hit those subscribes. Give us those downloads. Yes, the New York Giants are back. They're going to play Washington week one, and everybody's talking about how like difficult of a schedule it is. But remember, just this time last year, nobody had any high hopes for Washington and what they were able to do. All of that came on the heels of quarterback play changing. And so just thinking about the fact that quarterback play has changed here with the New York Giants, it's not out of the realm of possibility that everything could change for the Giants as well. I also recognize this. Those games when the Giants were playing Washington last year, those were not blowout games. Even with as bad as the Giants were last year, they played Washington tough. And they've always played Washington tough. It's weird how that happens, right? I don't know how it is, but for some reason, the Giants just have the number of Washington. Now, will that continue? That remains to be seen. Will the Giants go into week one as an extremely heavy underdog? Absolutely. But I think that's a winnable game. We're going to talk more about that as the week goes on and you get an opportunity to really dive into the minutia. But I wanted to start, here. And it's about the schedule. Everyone is making a big deal about the schedule. I want you guys to always remember that the schedule is based off of what these teams did last year. It's not even a prediction of what they're going to do this year. It is simply based off of the performances that these defenses had in 2024. Well, you and I both know things change a lot from 2024 to 2025, right? So in 2023, Washington was extremely bad. They were one of the worst teams in the league. That is why they were able to draft Jaden Daniels, right? If they were not bad, if they were not bad, they would not have had the opportunity to draft Jaden Daniels. So when they went into 2024, they were one of the worst teams in the league, which would have made them on our schedule look like an easy win or a win that we should. It would have brought down our strength of schedule, right? So now, a year removed, where they made this miraculous run to the NFC Championship game, now all of a sudden they're a difficult team on our schedule. But we don't know what 2025 holds. We don't know the regression that Jaden Daniels is going to have. We don't know what the running game is going to look like. We don't know what the pass protection is going to look like. We don't know what the receiving core is going to materialize. And even within there, how many of those guys will stay healthy? We don't know any of these things. The only thing that we truly know, right? The only thing that we can truly say is that Washington, for as good or as bad as they have been over time, has always struggled with the Giants. Why would I expect anything less this year? If this Giants team is better, and I think it is, then why would I believe that Washington team that ended up having a really good record didn't just run roughshod over a bad Giants team last year? So if they didn't bowl them over last year when the team was bad, why would they bowl them over this year when the team is seemingly better? I have high hopes. I have high expectations. How do we get there? Right? How do we get there? This is a very simple formula, right? The formula for how we get to a competitive game versus Washington comes down to this, and this is what we'll talk about today. Game planning. It's not personnel, it's game planning. The first is defensively, you can't allow Jaden Daniels to beat you with his legs. Now, am I saying that Jaden Daniels can't beat you with his arm? No. He's a really good passer. He beats you with his arms. He destroys you with his legs. He destroys your morale with his legs. How do you stop him from killing you with his legs? Here's what I know about Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is not a straight line, he's not Lamar Jackson, right? He's not going to juke you all out of your socks and then take off on you. He's really more of, if I find a line, I'll hit you with one cut, and then I'm out of there, right? It's a different type of run. He's extremely fast, like Lamar Jackson, but I don't think he has the same level of quicks as Lamar Jackson possesses. The good thing about trying to stop a guy who's such a great runner as he is that the New York Giants have a team that should be pretty built to stop running quarterbacks. They have an extremely athletic defensive line. They have linebackers who are fast, who can cover ground east and west, as well as close the distance on you north and south. They have defensive backs who are bigger, who have some physicality about them that they can bring up in order to try to combat and or spy. But here's the biggest thing when it comes to combating a running quarterback. You can never let a running quarterback scramble to their dominant hand, and you can never let a running quarterback escape north and south. That means that the defensive line for the Giants are going to have to do a good job of, number one, holding the edges and making sure that if he escapes, he has to escape to his weak hand, his non-throwing hand. Because here's the problem, right? If he escapes to his dominant hand, if you send him, right, and he's able to get out to the right-hand side, it's so much easier for him to turn and throw the ball with his right hand than it is with his left. If you make him go to his left as he's scrambling east and west, he has to then turn his body back in order to deliver passes accurately. So he's going to throw much less accurate balls. He's going to throw them much less confidently. And he's going to have to hold on to the ball longer than he would have to hold on to the ball if he was running to his right. So those things are very important to remember, right? And then escaping up the middle is very simple. If you allow a running quarterback to escape up the middle, if you allow a running quarterback to just be able to take off up the middle, they get ahead of steam. Now you're playing on your heels, right? So what happens there? Or how do you combat that? The interior defensive linemen can't try to pass rush so much that they get out of their lanes. If you're responsible for the A gap, you have to be responsible for the A gap within the framework of the pocket. If you're responsible for the B gap, you have to be responsible for the B gap within the framework of the pocket. And then it's important that if they have a spy there or someone in zone, that when you see him pull the ball down and go forward, you have to converge on him immediately. Make him think about having to get the ball back up and throw a pass while he's in the middle of running. That is how you find success versus a guy like Jaden Daniels. He's the key to everything, right? They're not going to be able to run well enough to just run the Giants off the field. They've never been able to do that. I don't even believe their offensive line is good enough, even with the additions, to be able to do that, right? Do they have a few more explosive elements? Absolutely. But are they going to be able to do that? Probably not. Offensively, this is what the Giants are going to have to do, and it's not just now. They're going to have to do this the entire season if they want to see success. They have to hunt the explosive plays. They can't just try to wait for the explosive plays to come to them. They need to hunt the explosive plays. They need to be the aggressor when it comes to these explosives. They need to be the ones that are trying to make the explosive play happen. It's been too much of them trying to wait until the perfect opportunity to take the shot in the past, only to not take the shot, or to take the shot very seldomly, or to take the shot in a very predictable situation. The Giants, if they want to have success offensively, they have to be random about the shot. It can't be a calculated shot. Sometimes it has to be a 1st and 10, boom, we're taking a shot. Sometimes it has to be a 2nd and 10, boom, we're taking a shot. Sometimes it has to be a 2nd and 2, boom, we're taking a shot. A 3rd and 3, boom, we're taking a shot. Hey, you know what? It's 3rd and 3. All we need to do is pick up the first down with a 3-yard run. But you know what? Forget that. We're going to take a shot. And if we end up having to punt, we're fine with it. Because in their mind now, during 3rd down, they're going to have to go, hey, you got to watch for the shot on 3rd and short. That's going to open up more running lanes to pick up the easy first downs. See, the problem that I feel like the Giants have had over the past few seasons, and even back in the playoff season, right, in 2022, the problem that they had was that the offense was very predictable, right? It was very predictable. Now, the unknown variable, or the unpredictable part of what happened in 2022 came down to how the quarterback was running the ball. I don't think everyone was ready for Daniel Jones to run like he did in 2022, to the extent that he did in 2022. And so I think that caught people off guard, especially in the first half of the season. Second half, not so much, when things once Barkley got injured or started having to deal with injuries, we saw that the offensive efficiency lowered, and that was because people didn't have to key on Saquon Barkley anymore. Now they could key on Jones, and once they were keying on Jones, we know what it is, right? The Giants have to make sure that they are not putting themselves in a position to be predictable. They have to make sure that whatever they're doing, they're ensuring that there's unpredictability in it. And here's why. The more unpredictable you are, the more defensive coordinators have to guess. I'm not talking out of theory. I'm telling you this from practical experience. The more I can figure out your tendencies as a defensive coordinator, the easier it is for me to game plan. If you have tendencies that are so concrete that I can figure out, I can just tell my defense, anytime they do X, you do Y. Anytime it's if, it's a then. But if you're unpredictable, it becomes more difficult because now I'm like, okay, well, if it's this situation, or if they're in this formation, or if they align this guy to this part of the field, I don't know what they're going to do. That's the part where you get really, really tricky for a defense because they don't know what to do. I'll give you an example. I was watching the North Carolina TCU game, right? And the beginning of the game, the first series, the first couple of series, that North Carolina defense was on point. And then TCU started doing things that were different tendencies than what North Carolina probably prepared for. Because North Carolina was prepared most likely like an NFL team. And the problem with preparing a defense like an NFL team's defense is that you're not going to see NFL offenses in college. You're going to see unconventional things on down and distance. And that made them have to start guessing what was coming. They hit them with so many of these small passes and short passes and intermediate passes on downs that were normally run downs. They hit them with so many that eventually they started preparing for passing on those running downs, and that's when TCU started to gash them with the run. They hit them with for an extremely long run at the beginning of the second half. These are the types of things that you see, right, when teams don't have tendencies that you can pick up on, when they remain unpredictable. And that is going to be important for the Giants because in the past, even last year, a lot of times it was run on first down, run on second down, pass on third down. Run on first down, no success, pass on second and third down, right? The predictability of the offense was one where you went, oh, if they pass it on first down and it's not successful, you're going to get 2 more passes. If they run it on first down and it's successful, you're going to get another run. And if that doesn't work, doesn't get the first down, they're going to pass it, right? Like you could figure out the kind of the flow, the mode of these teams. And because you could figure out the flow, the mode of these teams, it made it easy to predict what they were going to do. So I would caution against that, right? I would caution people to say, hey, listen, I understand that we want to have some continuity, but our continuity has to come within how we run the play, not necessarily how often or when we run the play. And that will give this offense the camouflage that I think it needs in order to be able to thrive, right? You want to be able to take those shots to Neighbors because the shot to Neighbors is going to open up the shot to Slayton. It's going to open up the underneath Wandale screen where he gets to go. It's going to open up Tracy to run. And then the long runs from Tracy and from Scatterbo and whomever else, Singletary, they're going to open up the intermediate pass for Neighbors and for Slayton and for Wandale and for Theo Johnson at tight end and all of the other guys. Like complementary football isn't just about this working well with this. It's about interweaving the entire game plan together in order to have success against defenses that tend to be a little bit more problematic if you allow them to know what you're going to do. But that being said, the Giants have had a lot of success versus Washington offensively. Not always the most touchdowns, and that's the problem, right? Not always the most touchdowns, but they've had success moving the ball versus Washington. So now it's, can we be unpredictable? Can we be unpredictable? And can we cash in red zone opportunities for 7 instead of 3? That is the Achilles heel, or has been the Achilles heel of this team since I've been covering it. Even during the playoff run, in 2022, the Achilles heel of this team was not being able to put up touchdowns in lieu of field goals. If they can find a way to convert more of those red zone and green zone opportunities into touchdowns and not field goals, they give themselves infinitely more opportunities to win, especially in this first game of the year. Remember that there were several wins by Washington that came via the end of the game where the opposition did something that either gave them life to win or stole defeat from the jaws of victory. Washington could have easily have been a 7-9 team, a 7-10 team, or an 8-9 team. Easily have been that. They could have easily have been a 6-win team if these bounces didn't go a certain way, if they didn't hit some late game heroics, if they didn't have a little bit of lady luck on their side. And so the Giants need to make sure that they take care of business on the front end so that when we get into those last 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes of the game, it's already elementary. It's already over. There's nothing that they can do to try to win the game. They got to stomp out an opportunity for a comeback by being able to keep their foot on the gas and turn on red zone and green zone opportunities into touchdowns. This game should be like like an old 19 or 2000s like hit shots. Like the Giants should just be taking shots everywhere. And I think that's going to soften them up to where the run game could really have an effect in this. I think that's the best mode for them to be successful. Special teams need to be solid. I still have some questions about special teams and who's on it, what they're going to be able to do. Looking forward, I'm going to have a special eye on Bo Collins to see exactly what Bo Collins brings to the table as a special teamer. I'm still surprised he made the team. It's been announced, by the way, Tommy DeVito as the quarterback 2, which is interesting that not Tommy DeVito, excuse me, my brain is all messed up. Jackson Dart as the quarterback 2. And that's interesting because Jackson Dart's the quarterback 2, but I wonder if Russell Wilson was to get injured, if the next week they wouldn't go with Jameis Winston and then just keep Jackson Dart as the quarterback 2, or if they would turn that over to Jackson Dart. That's something for a different day. We'll talk about that probably later on this week. It's really good to be talking about football that is on the horizon. A couple other things before I go. Micah Parsons, I know a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, the Cowboys were stupid to let Micah Parsons go. And my answer to that, or my retort to that, is what was the Dallas Cowboys winning with Micah Parsons at a $200 million or a $180 million Micah Parsons that they weren't doing with a rookie contract Micah Parsons, right? Like, where were they going to make up that stuff with Micah Parsons on now a quarterback deal that they weren't able to do when Micah Parsons was on a rookie deal? So guess what? Just like a quarterback, if you're not ready to win a Super Bowl, why invest in the quarterback? The same way, if you're not ready to win a Super Bowl, why invest in the defensive end? Makes no sense to me. It was what I was talking about with Brian Burns and why I didn't think the Giants should have went and reached for Brian Burns, because they weren't ready to win a Super Bowl, and edge rushers are not a necessity. They're a luxury, because edge rushers are what puts you over the top, right? Elite edge rushers. When you have elite edge rushers, but you're not ready to win a championship, you end up like Cincinnati, where you've got all of this offensive talent, and then you've got this elite defensive end that you don't want to pay because he's not helping you get to the promised land. He only helps you win it. At least that's in my opinion, right? That's the way I see it. That's the thing I look at. So this, in my opinion, this might turn out to be a positive for the Cowboys in the long run. But in the short term, I don't know how you replace a Micah Parsons, right? And so as a Giants fan, you've got to be excited, thinking to yourself, hey, we're not going to have to worry about a Micah Parsons, but you still got to be able to get the job done, right? I can see a lot more shootouts of Giants and Cowboys. I can see a lot more of it being a shootout here going forward. Again, just excited to be back, excited to talk the Giants. Make sure you're going over to the New York Giants on SI to see everything we're doing. I've got some pieces dropping, talking about some advantages and disadvantages based off of groups coming this week. You want to check those out. I'll be talking about those on here as well. Make sure you go over there to check out everything New York Giants going on. Make sure you go over here and get us to 3,000 subs before we get to the first game on Sunday. I appreciate y'all. Until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemons, and I have a giant issue.